Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everyone. Wouldn't it be great to communicate with your animal? Like talk to your animal, or as like we say here in New York, talk. You talk to the animal.
Let's talk.
Have a conversation.
Yeah.
You actually can. And even if you're not verbally communicating, you can do it. And I never thought I'd ever say this word.
Okay.
Telepathically.
Well, how does it feel to say it out loud?
Because I've done it and it works. She's a woman who has put together a wonderful organization, the Human Animal Connection. She's the executive director. She's also got an amazing book about changing your animal's diet by cooking for them and preparing, that's the cue, the wholesome canine cuisine, healthy eating for your dog. That book literally just out. She kind of knows a little bit about animals, specifically canines, and she is Genie Joseph, PhD. She's back with us. How you doing today?
I am good. Good to be with you.
I know that you, in our past conversation, have Animal Connection. Your organization is the Human Animal Connection, but I didn't know how deep you run with literally and figuratively communicating with animals. Tell us.
I mean, well, it's so important. I mean, nothing like spending thousands of hours volunteering in a shelter to realize that we need to know what the animals are feeling, what their opinions are, what they want, what they need, because they're in this stress situation. Sometimes they're strays or have been turned in by owners who can't keep them anymore. And it's not a judgment against them, but sometimes people's life situations change. So it's so important to be able to ask the animal, say, hey, are you okay? How you doing? What do you need? What can I do for you in the few minutes I have with you? What do you need? Do you need petting? Do you need space? Do you need water? What do you need? And it's just so important to be able to have that communication. And of course, when I'm working with clients, people who have animals that are sharing their lives with them, there are behavioral issues or there are issues they don't understand. And sometimes you just, it's not just a training issue. It's a situation. There's an emotion going on that is not understood by the person usually. And you need a third party to come in and say, hey, what's going on, doggy? What do you need? And it's so amazing because sometimes you hear the things that you hear from the animals are just jaw dropping. They're not what you'd expect. I mean, of course you hear, I love you, you're wonderful. But, we also hear some, hard truth where the animals there was one story where this happened to a friend of mine that a little Chihuahua was peeing in the house plant in the kitchen. And the woman was just distraught with this situation. Didn't know why because there was a doggy door, the dog could go out, the dog would go out, but whenever things were upsetting, the dog would pee in the houseplant. So my friend did the animal communication, and what the animal said was, your husband is abusive and I don't think we should take it anymore. And, she had no idea that the dog had that awareness. And when she recognized that that's what was going on, she said, all right, I'm going to create a plan. I'm going to leave. And the dog stopped peeing in the plant. So, that isn't something that a trainer could have come and said, oh, we'll do this, do that. I mean, good. I'm a trainer, so we all do what we can, but sometimes we need to just understand what's driving behavior. And usually what it is an emotion. So sometimes the dog doesn't feel safe. Sometimes the dog doesn't feel the person feels safe and they're acting that out. Or sometimes they don't feel like the person's really connecting with them. But once you understand the emotion, things really change.
Is it truly the rest of us, not the trained professionals? Is it truly possible for us to know what our animals are thinking?
Yes, it is. It is. I mean, many, I wouldn't say most, but many young children are born feeling like they understand completely what animals are thinking, feeling, wanting, and talk to them. And as we get talked out of this, we're told that that's our imagination or it doesn't make sense. So it is. And if you go to indigenous cultures, many people growing up in indigenous cultures don't lose that ability. They can talk to the animals. A lot of Native Americans have talked about talking to the animals and the trees and all of nature. And, so it is something that everybody has the potential to do, but it does take work and discipline because you have to get your mind out of the way, like I might I might want a certain answer from my dog. That isn't communication. If I have an agenda, if I'm trying to change their behavior, if I want something different, that's not going to be just the same with you, Steve. If I'm trying to get you to do something you don't want to do, that's not communication. That's me
Sure.
trying to,
Manipulation.
Manipulation, right,
Yeah.
which humans are rather adept at. So yeah.
I've tried this, and most recently, and on a very low level, but I don't know if I shared this, but I was walking my dog Tanner, and he likes to take his time,
Hmm.
likes
Yeah.
to sniff it out, feel it
Yep.
out. And by the way, I've used your suggestion. You told me months ago
Hmm.
that you need him to make a decision. He needs to
Right.
decide like
Right.
where he wants to go. But
Right.
sometimes, I'll make that decision. We got to head back.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes.
and
Yeah.
sometimes, I'm walking around in my socks and flip-flops first thing in the morning, and the grass is all wet. I'm like, all right, I'll go. Yeah, because he wants to
Yeah.
go that way.
Uh-huh.
But I was in a little bit of a rush a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted him to go to the bathroom so I could go to work.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I came up with a picture in my mind of him going to the bathroom at that moment. And I
Hmm.
thought about it, thought about him, basically sent it to him.
Hmm.
And I'm not kidding. About 4 seconds later, he
Hmm.
did.
Yep.
And I'm like, all right, boy, let's go. And then we went
Yep.
back and we're done. And I've tried it since,
Hmm.
and it does work. I'm
Uh-huh.
not even kidding.
I
It's kind of
know.
cool.
It's kind of cool. And it,
Yeah.
it creates so much more harmony, it takes out the stress if you know that you can communicate and that they will listen. And it's just important to understand that you have to be just like with a human being. You have a 16-year-old daughter. If you tell her, eat your broccoli, she's probably not going to eat her broccoli. But, if you sit down and talk about, hey, this is why broccoli is good for you, maybe she will, I mean, it's just like any other relationship. You don't get to impose your will because you're an animal communicator. I can't make an animal do something an animal doesn't want to do,
Right.
but I can ask an animal why they're doing what they're doing. Like I had one client, and she had two greyhounds. One passed, and the greyhound that was left was so depressed. I mean, it looked like he was going to die. He just didn't care about life anymore. And so she went to get another greyhound, even though it was still very recent, and she wasn't over the heartbreak of losing the first one that passed. She got another greyhound, and this greyhound, whose name was Bree, she had a doggy door, and she also lives with a potbelly pig. The dog could go out. She'd take the dog out in the morning. The dog wouldn't potty, come back in the house, and she was trying to get ready to go for work. And as soon as the dog got in the house, boom, right on her clean rug. And she's like the cleanest person I know, even though she lives with potbelly pig. She is the
Hmm.
cleanest person I know. So this was very stressful for her. And she was like, okay, maybe I made a mistake. This isn't the right dog. I can't handle this. This is always when I'm trying to get ready for work and da 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 da. And so she called me in to have a conversation. And Bree was very direct with me. She said, there's no room in her heart for me. She hasn't opened her heart because she was still hurting from the loss of the other dog. And that's why she felt there was no place to potty. Like it was like she was trying to create a place for herself, like this is my spot. And it was, it got all messed up, and it was like
Ah,
creating all this tension. And she was just about to give this dog away, rehome the dog because she couldn't take it anymore, And as soon as I explained this to her, she cried, and she realized it was true, that she was trying not to be disloyal to the dog who had just passed. And I said, you really need to make a decision. Are you going to open your heart and let this new dog in? And she said, yes, I want to do that. And 9 months later, she hasn't had a household accident since. So one
hmm.
conversation, saved this dog's chances of being in this happy family, and they're doing very well. She's now a therapy dog and goes with her to schools and does great things. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Hmm. You just reminded me of a current situation. Well, current
yeah,
as of last week.
okay,
So I have two cats, and out of nowhere, they started peeing outside the litter box. One of them, at least, right? And I'm like, this is not good.
no, it's not
This
good.
is not, this is
Yeah.
not good. And I sent a visual of them not doing it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I also tried to receive why, because I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't, I didn't know why.
Mm-hmm.
And what I got back was um, that they didn't like the bags that I changed. I put my bags over my litter box, then I put the litter in there because I don't like cleaning the litter box, and I just take
Right,
it all and I just dump it.
right.
Um, the bag was different. And
Yeah.
I honestly didn't even think of that or realize that
Yeah.
until I sat with it. And I have to believe that came from them. I
Yes.
changed back. I had like 2 bags left of the old ones, and I'm going to go to, I got them at a hardware store, believe it or not. I'm going to go
Hmm.
back there probably on the way home today, not even kidding,
Hmm.
and get a box of the old bags, change
Hmm.
the bags, and so far, no accidents or
Wow. Yeah.
nothing outside the box.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have to believe that I would have never gotten that unless I sat with it and tried to get something I asked for an answer. It was
Hmm.
off my radar. It's a bag, plastic bag. They all look the same to me, but apparently not.
Yeah, to you they're all the same, but to the cat they're not. They smell differently. There may be different chemicals.
Sure,
Who knows
sure.
texture? Who
Yeah.
knows what it is? And it's like that's their private place. And we go mess with it,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
that's their private place. We have our private place, and we don't want them messing with our private place. And so there's a lot of things that can be a lot more harmonious when we take the time to really just be quiet and listen. And animal communication, unlike human communication, is subtle. Well, I guess human communication can be subtle, but animal communication is, it's like a different wavelength. Like if you're turning your radio dial to one station, you can have it, rap on one channel and classical on another, different station. So with animals, you want to find the vibration or the frequency where communication is open, and from
Yes.
there it just flows once you
Yeah.
find that. Yeah.
You've tuned into their channel.
Exactly. You've tuned into cat channel or dog channel or donkey channel.
What about the passing of an animal? I always wondered what they think about. Do they, are they sad like we are? Do they look at it a different way?
Yeah. Well, are we talking about animals that live with us now? We're talking about the domesticated animals. Is that what you mean? Yeah. So
Sure.
they are much better about death than we are. Let's put it that way. They're much more enlightened. They really get it that they're going home. They really get it that
Wow.
this is not an end. They don't. They rarely, if ever, and I've talked to other animal communicators. Rarely, if ever, do they even use the word death. They just, to them, it's like walking out the doggy door. They're going from one room to another. It's as natural as anything else that we do: eat, sleep, poop. It is. They are often aware of the sadness of the human, and they don't want the human to suffer. So that is often a concern for them. But in most cases, most animals know that it's time. They know when it's time, and they're ready. They are
Wow.
ready to let go. The dropping of the body is like this for us: you taking off a winter coat. You come in the house, you take off your coat, and for them it's like, okay, I've done what I needed to do in this body, and I'm ready to go home.
Wow. We talk about communication. Can you, can we communicate with animals that have passed over?
Absolutely, why not? Telepathy is just messages over distance. It's just feelings being communicated. So distance, there is no distance for them. There is no distance. I mean, they are often busy in their new life, whatever that may be. So they're not always hanging around. But
Mm.
I find it even easier to talk to dogs who passed on, because it's like the channel is clearer. There's less, it's just simpler. It's easier to talk to animals who passed on. I mean, it's easy to talk to animals over here, but there's a certain ease and grace, and it's almost like they've evolved too. So they are not worried anymore about any of the stuff that was going on here. They're just in often very joyful, and they continue to grow and learn just as we do. They have a soul. Animals have souls. So when they're not in physical form, they are more working on their soul life. So they're working on what it is that they're learning and what their process is.
I believe it's all energy.
It is. It's
Yeah.
all
Just what you
energy.
said before, doing the radio station analogy, when you listen to terrestrial radio, you're listening to a frequency. What is the frequency? It's a vibration. What is a vibration? It starts with energy. And when someone, human or not, is no longer here, it's my belief that their energy is still here.
That's right.
Didn't go anywhere. And I
Yeah.
proved it with relatives that have passed
Uh-huh.
who I asked for signs.
Yep.
And I get them, and they're
Yep.
very specific. And yes, I'm the biggest skeptic on the planet. But when I ask for those signs, and by the way, you if finding a penny or seeing a butterfly go by
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
supports you and your connection,
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm asking for more, and I get
Right.
specific.
Okay.
So, and I believe that's the energy that's around. So I got to believe
Okay.
the energy of our pets that have passed is still out there, and all you need to do is find the frequency, tap into it. Um, how can we? That's one thing I haven't done
Hmm.
is connected with a pet that have
Hmm.
passed. How can we do that? How can we make that connection and know that we're receiving something?
So I was just working with a client yesterday, and she has a 15-year-old dog, a wonderful dog, but of course, 15-year-old dog, big husky, not doing well, and she knows that it's getting close. And one of the things that we were doing, in addition to checking to making sure that the animal was ready and all of that good stuff, to remove any guilt that she might feel, but we also said let's ask for a communication link. Let's ask for a sign that you will know that this is your dog. I'm going to say Daisy because it's just for confidentiality. So just so we know that it's Daisy that's sending you this message. And what Daisy said, Daisy loved to be outside, desert dog, not in the heat, but loved to be out in nature. And Daisy said, you're going to see a leaf blowing, like in a light wind, the feeling of a light wind blowing through a leaf. And maybe not the whole tree is blowing, but you're just going to notice, oh my goodness, this little leaf blowing. And that was the sign that this dog wanted to let her know, when you see this, it's me. It's me. I'm there. And my dog Sophia, we can be out in a desert where there's nothing, like just barren desert, and she'll find the one little like wild yellow daisy, and she'll go and pee on it, this little in the middle of nothing. And so this is a sign for me, whenever she stops and pees on a little yellow wild daisy, that it's a time for me to connect with spirit, and I tune in and I connect. So this is, there are different ways that animals can do it. That's just, I mean, animals can communicate very directly. That's just one example. But I think what's lovely is when you have an animal whose time is there, very close to there, to say, let's set up a link so I can know it's you. Because otherwise you're going to be going, is that just a butterfly, or was that just a penny, or is it really you? And it gets nutty. So let's bypass all of that by setting this agreement up ahead of time. And each animal that I've talked to and done this with, it's always unique. I mean, hummingbirds are very common, but butterflies, of course, birds, but it's very unique, like the little yellow daisy, or the little leaf blowing. It's a light blow. It's not a whoosh 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 in a big wind. It's a light blow.
Mm.
And that's very good for her spiritual training, because she has to be able to be aware, to see that, to notice that. I have other people that will get images in the clouds. In fact, I had one yesterday. There was, it was the sunset, and in the middle of all these clouds, there was this upright cloud like a dog, and it had the ears and the mouth open and the tail, the back to us, and it was this cloud, and it was like, wow, in the Hawaiian tradition. I lived in Hawaii for 25 years, so to the Hawaiians, there are signs everywhere. So clouds are talking to
Yeah.
you, animals are talking to you, the wind is talking to you, the turtles are talking to you, everything that has life is communicating all the time. It's just whether or not we notice.
Key point right there.
Yep.
Key point. It's seeing the signs, being
Seeing the
open
signs.
to it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's also quieting the clutter around you so that you can see them, because it's my belief also that the signs are there.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. There,
Mm-hmm.
it's everywhere. We just don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to share the first time I got a sign
Okay.
from my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very important situation. I was heading to a meeting. She had passed 2 years before. And I said, Mom, just show me that it's going to be okay. Just give me
Mm-hmm.
a sign. Thought about it the night before. That morning I woke up. I'm like, this could be big and could not go in my favor. Just give me a sign that everything's going to be all right, please.
Mm-hmm.
Drove to the meeting, 9:22 a.m., pulling into the parking lot. I'm like, just thinking about my mom, the whole situation that I need to deal with at that moment. And I look down, my energy drink is in the console, and it's the expiration date is her birthday.
Uh,
So, and by the way, everything turned out wonderful with
okay.
the meeting.
Great.
And
Uh-huh.
that was the beginning of many, many signs I get from her, and they're all just as specific. I told to a friend of mine, and he said, "Yeah, all right, it's a 1 in 365 chance. It could happen." But he said, more importantly, what are the chances of you looking at an energy drink expiration date at that moment.
Right.
Yeah, I can barely even see it, but I was like, what?
Yeah.
Whoa. Um, Again, it was a sign. I was open to receiving it and saw it. And I think it's the same thing too. If you maybe I'm going to do it today. I've never done this. You know, my cat Maestro, who passed same year my mom did. I've never asked for a sign. I don't know. I'm going to do it
Yeah.
today. I seriously am.
Go
I
for
never
it.
even thought of that.
Go for it. Yeah. Yeah.
But you
Ask
got
for
to
a sign.
realize it. You got to be open
Yeah.
to whatever's coming your way.
Yeah. Yeah. Ask for a sign. And you could say, is there any message you'd like to share with me? You know what I mean? Because different animals will communicate. Some like doing the signs, some like will talk to you in words, like the beautiful with the numbers. I have a deal with the universe. If I see three numbers together, like 333, 444, 555, 666. So just seeing a six doesn't mean that much, although it does. But when I see three together, then it's like, okay, that's a communication. And I happen to know what the numbers mean. So I said, oh, okay. Like if it was, 3 5s, I would say, okay, that's about money. That's about some financial issue that I need to pay attention to or something like that. So, you can do all kinds of communication methods. It's whatever works for you because it's whatever your willingness to accept and receive is.
Yeah.
For her, the leaf thing was very subtle, but she's a meditator. And so for her, that gentle reminder to be present and just notice the leaf blowing is fabulous. The next person, that would be too subtle for them.
Yes.
They would need a brick falling on their head.
Well, the key word here is present, to be present, because we're all, most of us, thinking about the past, the future, anxiety, depression, all come into that. And you can't focus on one little thing, but it's a big thing if it's a sign and maybe an answer that you were looking for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's so beautiful what you got about the cats and changing the bag, because you could have, taken her to the vet. I'm not saying anything against taking to the vet, if a cat's peeing outside the box, go to the vet. But I'm just saying you could have run in 18 directions, new litter, new boxes, new positions, new, all kinds of things you could have tried.
Yeah.
But hey, you heard it, you got it. Wham.
Maybe I could have thought of that on my own,
but you didn't.
I didn't. And I was asking, and I even sent the mental picture. Please don't go outside the box. Please don't do that. And then I got back the bag. Oh yeah. And I was like, yeah, I bought the bags on Amazon, in bulk, out of, great price, blah, blah, blah. But they don't like them. And I understand, like you said, and I didn't think of it this way. You have a really great way of seeing things that many of us don't. That is their space. That's their private space. I don't think of it as, if you came and changed the seat on my toilet, and I might be like, this is,
what'd you do that?
I don't want a mushy seat, whatever. Whatever it might be. It's
a plastic seat. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly. Would you like one little tip that will help you go even further with that conversation?
Please.
Okay.
Sure.
So instead of saying, it's fine. It was a fine communication, but just moving forward, you said, please don't pee in the litter box. Now, what you're doing with that is the word "don't" is not a visual image. So what you're saying, what a person who's receiving on a visual level, if your cats are visual, they would hear please pee in the little, outside, because you said please don't pee outside. So they delete don't. Don't is not a visual word. It becomes please pee outside the box. So instead you want to say please pee inside the box, or tell me what I can do to make it better for you.
So make it proactive without any
positive
negativity. Yeah.
And without the don't. And it's not even just that it's negative, but it's don't is not an image. So if I say don't spill the milk, you immediately see an image of spilled milk.
Spill the milk. Yeah.
Right. So I would want to say to you, hold your glass carefully.
Doesn't that even go back to, we're out of time. We're actually over time, but doesn't that go back to our subconscious?
Yes.
It's the way our subconscious sees it. It doesn't know good from bad. It just knows what you gave it. So
the emotion
pee outside the litter box. Your subconscious is hearing outside the litter box, outside the litter box, and they're receiving it too.
Yeah, well, your beautiful cats knew your intention and bypassed your human communication flaws. But for the future, in moving forward, what you want to do is you want to say to them, you show them the behavior that you want. You ask for the behavior that you want, and you thank them. You thank them. Thank you for
Appreciate
peeing
that.
out inside the litter box, because the feeling of gratitude they can experience, they can connect to, but the don't pee outside the box has energy, a different energy, right? It has, oh God, I don't want to have to clean it up, it stinks, right? So, but the gratitude of, please use the litter box to pee, or tell me what I need to do to make it better.
How do we make it better in terms of cooking for our animals, for our dogs, and also all of this? Your organization, which is wonderful, that connects us with our animals. What's that website?
That is thehumananimalconnection.org. And there you can also book yourself a consultation, an animal conversation reading. My readings are very unique, I think, because it's a three-way conversation. I help you talk to your animal. I help you hear what your animal has to say. And I translate back to your animal what you want to say. So it's a very unique style.
Very cool. Jeannie, always great talking with you. And
great talking with you.
I really look forward every time we get together. Little nuggets we all learn. And we love our animals. We just want to be so much even more connected. We'll connect next time.
Okay, then.
Thanks. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the mytuner-radio, online radio box, and simpleradio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.